March 22, 1945, Rhine River, Oppenheimer, Germany. The Rhine flows wide and cold past the town of Oppenheimer. Its surface dark, under a low spring sky. The river here is more than 900 feet across. Its current steady, its banks steep and muddy from weeks of thaw and rain. Vineyards climb the hills beyond the eastern shore, bare and scarred by shell fire. The bridges that once spanned this stretch of the river are gone. Steel arches lie twisted in the water or collapsed against the banks, destroyed by German engineers days earlier. By doctrine and by habit, the Rhine is meant to stop armies. For the German command, it is the final natural barrier. Before the heart of the Reich, orders issued weeks earlier are explicit. No bridge is to remain intact. If the enemy approaches, the crossings are to be destroyed, even if German units are still withdrawing. By the night of March 22nd, those orders have been carried out. Every bridge in this sector has been blown. On the western bank, the U.S. Third Army stands ready. General George S. Patton has pushed his forces hard across France and into Germany, often advancing faster than maps or supply lines can keep up. His intention is clear. He will not wait for a formal, set-piece Rhine crossing. He will cross wherever the enemy least expects it. At Oppenheimer, the task falls to the 5th Infantry Division, supported by engineers and artillery. Within the division, one unit will move first, the 11th Infantry Regiment, and within that regiment, a single battalion is assigned the initial crossing. They know the bridges are gone. They cross anyway. As darkness settles, American engineers move quietly to the river's edge. Assault boats are unloaded by hand, carried through orchards and ruined streets to avoid observation. The boats are canvas-covered, wooden-framed, designed to carry a squad at a time. Each weighs more than a man can comfortably lift. The ground is slick. Men stumble. No one speaks above a whisper. On the far bank, German defenders wait in shallow positions dug into frozen soil. They are under strength, short on ammunition, and exhausted. But they believe the river has bought them time. Without bridges, they expect days of preparation before any crossing attempt. They are wrong. At approximately 10 o'clock that night, the first American infantrymen push off from the western bank. The river is wider than expected. The current pulls hard at the boats, forcing men to paddle constantly just to maintain direction. Water slaps against the hulls. Occasionally, a boat drifts downstream and has to fight its way back. The crossing takes nearly 30 minutes. German sentries hear the sound too late. When flares rise, the first boats are already halfway across. Machine gun fire rakes the water. Bullets strike boats and splash into the river. One craft is hit and capsizes. Men disappear into the current, weighed down by gear. Others keep moving forward without turning back. By midnight, the first American platoons reach the eastern shore. They do not stop. They climb the muddy bank under fire, dragging weapons and radios with them. Defensive positions are taken immediately. Fields of fire are established. Flares burn overhead, turning the vineyards white and stark. German resistance is scattered and confused. Some positions fight briefly, then fall silent. Others withdraw toward the hills. Within hours, the battalion has a foothold east of the Rhine. The bridges are gone. The crossing has begun. March 23, 1945, east bank of the Rhine, Oppenheimer. By the early hours before dawn, the battalion's hold on the eastern bank is thin but real. The men dig in wherever the ground allows, scraping shallow foxholes into frozen earth with entrenching tools and bare hands. The vineyards offer little cover. Rows of wooden stakes and wire trellises break the terrain into narrow lanes, limiting movement and visibility. Every sound carries. German artillery begins firing shortly after midnight. Shells land irregularly, walking across the riverbank and into the vineyards. Some overshoot into the river. Others burst among the assault boats still ferrying men across. Engineers work under fire, repairing damaged craft, dragging them back into the water again and again. Each trip adds another squad, another machine gun, another radio to the growing perimeter. By 2 o'clock in the morning, German counterfire intensifies. Mortar begin to fall with greater accuracy. One round lands directly among a group of infantry waiting to cross, killing several men instantly. The rest scatter, then regroup, moving back toward the water without hesitation. There is no pause in the crossing. Across the river, the battalion commander understands the risk. If the Germans counterattack in strength before daylight, the isolated infantry will be forced back into the river. There are no bridges, no tanks, no artillery yet on the far bank. Everything depends on speed. Orders are sent back by radio. More boats, more men, immediately. At first light, the fog lifts just enough to reveal the scale of the movement. Dozens of assault boats crisscross the Rhine. Engineers begin assembling pontoon sections on the western bank, working at a pace dictated by gunfire rather than procedure. Smoke rounds are fired to obscure the crossing sites, drifting low over the water. German observers finally grasp what is happening. Attempts are made to organize a counterattack from nearby towns, but units arrive piecemeal. Some lack heavy weapons, others arrive without officers. Coordination is poor. Communications fail repeatedly. Orders contradict one another as German commanders attempt to respond to a crossing they believed impossible. Without bridges, by mid-morning, American artillery begins firing in support from the west bank. Forward observers embedded with the battalion call in adjustments, walking shells closer to German assembly points. The psychological effect is immediate. German units attempting to move toward the river come under sudden, accurate fire. The foothold expands. By afternoon, additional infantry regiments are crossing. Pontoon bridges near completion begin carrying jeeps and light trucks. Engineers reinforce anchor lines against the river's current. Each hour reduces the chance of a successful German response. The battalion that crossed first is held. By nightfall on March 23rd, the crossing at Oppenheimer is secure. Tanks begin moving over the pontoon bridge under cover of darkness. Supplies follow. The Rhine, once thought to require days of preparation and overwhelming force, has been crossed in less than 24 hours by infantry willing to go forward without bridges. The impact spreads quickly. German defenses along the river unravel as news of the crossing circulates. Other Allied armies accelerate their own operations. What was meant to be a final barrier becomes another line broken under pressure. In the weeks that follow, American forces push deeper into central Germany. Organized resistance collapses in stages. Cities fall. Units surrender. The war's end approaches rapidly. The battalion that crossed at Oppenheimer does not receive special recognition at the time. There is no dramatic announcement, no immediate ceremony. Their crossing is recorded in after-action reports, measured in coordinates, casualty figures, and tonnage moved across the river. Yet its significance is unmistakable. When the last bridge was blown, doctrine said to wait. They did not. They crossed anyway. Outcome and legacy. The crossing at Oppenheimer became one of the earliest successful Rhine assaults by American forces in March 1945. It demonstrated that speed, surprise, and initiative could overcome even the strongest natural defenses. The success accelerated the Allied advance into Germany and reduced the time needed to establish large-scale bridgeheads across the Rhine. Call to remembrance. The men who crossed the Rhine that night did so knowing the river could become their grave. Some did not return. Their actions were not driven by spectacle, but by duty under uncertainty. Remembering them is an acknowledgement of courage measured not by words, but by movement into darkness when bridges were gone.